right, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the 404 show. It's Friday, May 27th. You're excited because you're on your way to the beach.
I'm wearing shorts, Jeff.
Are you really?
Yep.
Oh, look at that
Sear
pale-ass
sucker shorts.
skin. You're on the way to the boardwalk or the beach, or if you live in a landlocked state, you're headed
Lakes?
to the lake where people swim and probably get their shitty drinking water from.
Ugh.
But you're also listening to Mr. Justin Yu, who's back on the program. Mr. Justin effing Yu. What's up, bud?
What's up, everyone?
It's good to hear you.
Thank you.
It's good to hear your voice. You sound well.
You guys, too. It's good to see you guys.
I know. It's always a very special pleasure of ours when you're here because, look, you know, people love it. And they're like, yo, what's Justin's deal? I get people calling me like, hey, man, why can't you just, like, force him to do stuff?
People say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the subreddit.
Yeah.
There were some really nice messages in the subreddit,
Aw.
so I appreciate all you guys.
For sure. So anyway, you're loved by all, and thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. I know it's the Friday before a holiday, and that's usually a day where people give really no shits whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you're giving a shit for us, and I appreciate
You are.
that.
You guys doing anything this weekend?
Are we going to?
Yeah, you guys going anywhere?
I actually have my bachelor party this weekend,
Yeah.
which Jeff can't attend,
Yeah, because I'm going to be in Virginia all weekend.
which sounds like way more fun than what I'm doing, which is paintball.
Why we got to go and talk about that? Like, it's, yeah.
Wait, you're playing paintball this weekend?
No.
Nope.
Oh, okay. You're playing for
yeah.
your bachelor party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Among other things, yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Yeah, where are you going?
No.
Just in general.
Where for paintball, you mean?
Yeah.
Somewhere in Long Island. I don't actually know any of the details.
Sure.
Can
sure.
I take Jeff's spot?
Yes.
All right.
More than welcome.
All right, as long as someone makes out on this whole fiasco. We got a lot to talk about today, but we're going to get right into it. There's a lot of stuff that's been on my mind.
Really important stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe we'll like save that for a little later because that's like a longer kind of thing.
Okay.
So first let's talk about a little bit of like gaming stuff real quick because I just want to get this out there. Of course, when Justin's here, we're going to talk about video games. It wouldn't be a 404 show.
Yeah.
without Justin. So listen to this. Let me tell you what these guys are doing. So both Sony and Microsoft, all right, you know Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Those came out like 3 years ago,
Right, yes,
right?
I'm familiar. I've
So
heard of
get
them.
this, dude. Both of them are going to be releasing like integral sort of update machines.
Okay.
Like, so basically like an iPad Air 2.
Yeah, like a.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but it's not. It's like a equivalent of like an Xbox 1.5 and a PlayStation 4.5.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not a full new console.
It's in the middle.
It's in the middle.
It's like a step up.
But it's an actual hardware upgrade.
Yes.
Okay.
And like they're more powerful. They're better on paper.
Right.
They're better machines. What do you think of that?
But if you already own the Xbox One or
Yes.
the PS4, then you probably don't need to upgrade.
Right. So that's the thing, right? So like for PlayStation, they're calling it's codename Neo,
Yep.
as in Keanu Reeves, and that thing is going to have games that are played on it look better and maybe perform a little better,
Maybe.
but they're not going to be any different.
Right.
So like basically they're saying like, hey, we're going to make sure all the PlayStation 4 games work
Yeah.
on anything you play.
At least that's what. I mean, again, this is all theory. Nothing's been officially
Right.
announced. But that's what they're saying. Whether that actually ends up being true is another question. I don't know. It's interesting. Do you feel like it feels greedy or a bad move for them?
I feel like at least when they do that with iPhones and
See,
Apple,
that's a big point to
people
bring up.
don't really
Yeah.
like that too much because they're expecting more features.
But they're also doing that annually.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Like-
true.
Like
This
if
has been 4 years. I mean, it's been 4 years.
It's been 4 years. No, it hasn't. It's 2013 is when they came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 3 years.
That's
sure.
jacked. Well, look, it's jacked if you expect a console life cycle to be as long as it has been in the past.
I don't think it's 2013. Really?
Look it up.
Well, is this because a lot of the technology for the games that are coming out now, like
Oh,
VR
wow.
or something,
Shit.
just aren't supported by PS4? Because that wasn't around when that console came out?
Whoever says this guy doesn't know his
Yeah.
shit.
What?
That's exactly right.
Is that really?
Yeah.
You're completely
You're
right.
completely right.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Xbox doesn't have a VR answer the way PlayStation does. PlayStation's having a VR thing. So they're like shit in the bed. They're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what do? We can't compete. So they're basically, the rumor is that they're going after Oculus.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, Oculus, look at this super duper Xbox 1.5 that we got in the hopper. It's codename Scorpio.
Yeah.
The Neo and
I
Scorpio.
know, it's so stupid.
Nerds.
Like who is in charge of the
Mecha
naming
nerds.
convention?
Yeah.
Right.
Meanwhile,
they're like,
Nintendo has like Dolphin.
yeah, that's ridiculous. So they're like, hey, Oculus, wouldn't you guys like to have more Oculuses out there? Wouldn't you like to sell a couple million more Rifts than maybe you will right now, where like people need to own a super duper gaming PC to have one of the things? What if this new Xbox One also played nice with the Oculus? So they're trying the rumors are that Microsoft is courting Oculus and saying, hey, let's get into bed together and work on a partnership. We can go after PSVR and all that stuff.
Who do you think came first in terms of pushing this idea?
Well, I don't know how polite. What? Oh, never mind. What?
Who do you think came first in terms of pushing the idea of doing this like mid?
That is a good question.
So,
like, who called who?
So this is my interpretation of it is Sony doing so well in this generation also saw that, okay, we have this PlayStation VR coming out. If you play games on the PlayStation VR, while some of them look cool, they essentially are like PS2 or PS3 generation graphics because it has to run twice at a certain frame rate for it not to look terrible and not to make people nauseous. Mm-hmm. So the current system as it exists, the PlayStation, can just barely get VR going. It works. There are games that work and they look okay, but it's not like in the way that you play a Vive game and it looks amazing.
Right.
It's not that. So I kind of feel like a lot of this is like, well, we need a VR experience that like looks comparable
for sure
to there. And also I would say like seeing games like No Man's Sky and stuff like that, you're starting to really push up against the power of the PlayStation 4. And that might be part of the reason it might be delayed, No Man's Sky, which is currently the rumor. So there's like, I think they ran into a lot of hardware issues. And then the second that Microsoft heard that Sony was doing this, they're like, we have no choice. Because if we let them go, they're off to the they're already ahead. They're off to the races. Right. It's not even a competition.
And that's what's crazy is like, man, so much shit leaks out, right? Or we get a lot of stuff more so than ever. I feel like, where things are almost guaranteed to leak out.
Yeah.
But I think that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I'm sure.
Where and hopefully in a couple weeks, I'm actually like all of a sudden now kind of excited about E3 because it's like
I don't think they're going to announce that stuff.
See, I think they will.
Here's the problem.
I think they're going to touch on it. They have to.
Here's the problem with announcing that stuff is the second they announce it, their sales take a big hit.
Of course. And that's also, they're also talking about releasing like a slim Xbox One, which is always the freaking case.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. I don't want to spend too much time on that stuff just because Justin's here. It's super interesting. But yeah.
It's good stuff.
That's what's that. So let's get into like some drama.
Okay.
Some like journalism, free speech, open media drama that panned out. That this story has not been getting the mainstream attention that I thought it would.
Yes,
be.
it is.
I don't know.
It's gotten a lot of media attention.
It's gotten internet attention.
Sure.
But like only in, I don't know.
New York Times covered it
Yeah.
pretty extensively. I think it's getting...
The story's been happening. It's been going on for like 3 years now. Or 4 years? I think that tape came out in like 2012.
Right. But,
But so there's a new generation.
Yeah.
new cycle. Yeah. So talk about it. This is Gawker, the whole thing. What's up?
So Gawker, very top line. So Hulk Hogan sued Gawker because of this sex tape, and Gawker published it, and that's...
Time out. Let's pause on that for a second. Tell me you watched that.
Of course I watched it. Of course I watched that.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that?
No. I have no
Oh my
interest in
God.
watching that.
Yeah.
That does not appeal
First
to
of all,
me.
he makes several mentions of the woman's wife. The husband of the woman that he's
Who's in
doing
the
on
room,
camera.
correct?
No, he's in the room next door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's like a
shopping for
couple-
auto parts on his computer because you can hear him talking about it through the wall.
That's
and this
hilarious.
guy's name is Bubba the Love Sponge.
Yeah, he changed legally.
He
changed
legally
his name.
changed it because he's on the radio.
He was a
But
radio
he changed it to
personality.
Bubba the Love Sponge.
Yes.
So that name gets mentioned a few times in Coitus, which is hilarious. But the best part about that video is about halfway through, because it's a long one too. He does a good job.
God.
Halfway through, he starts talking about how fat he feels because he just finished a huge sushi dinner.
This is Hulk Hogan or Bubba?
Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan. He just starts. He starts
that's
talking to me. He's like,
horrendous.
I can't believe I just ate like a pig just 2 hours ago. I ate
that
a
like
whole
a-
platter of sushi. He talks about how he ate an entire party platter full of sushi.
Is that like a vor thing? Like people like
I have
into
no-
eating?
Yeah, it's so maybe it could be like some kind of weird fetish.
That's such a weird
He's like,
detail.
I'm out of breath. shouldn't have eaten all that chicken karaage or whatever it was.
Throw up.
Oh, that omakase was too much.
I'm gonna start this Memorial Day off with vomit.
Yeah,
that's right. So
anyway, you watch it.
we should say this is not really what we were looking to talk about. So anyway, this trial happened in a pretty hostile environment. It was in Hulk Hogan's, essentially his neighborhood, where the trial was held. And
Wait, one last thing about the sex tape. The best part is that you could see Hulk Hogan's Speedo tan. Like, really very clearly.
You could always see that.
yeah, it was always kind of there.
I remember there was a match where like he got a wedgie.
Yeah.
And like you saw his super pale ass, and you're like, oh, he goes 10.
He's been in that coffin for a while.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
back to the
Anyway,
politics.
so Gawker loses this case. It's in, essentially against them. And I believe we're charged with paying $150 million in damages, which is a staggering amount of money.
For a internet media company.
I mean, it would be enough to pay that amount. It'd be enough to seriously, basically destroy,
If not put them out of business.
Gawker. So recently, in this last week, it came out that Peter Thiel.
Is it Teal or Peel?
Well,
Thiel.
it's spelled Thiel. It
Yeah.
might be pronounced differently, but it's spelled Thiel.
Now explain his background.
So he is a hedge fund manager, entrepreneur, etc. He invested $500,000 in Facebook very early on, and as you can imagine, it's worth a little bit more than $500,000 today, quite a bit more. So his net worth is $2.8 billion, according to Forbes.
So is he the one curating Facebook stories?
No, he doesn't work for Facebook. He founded PayPal. So he founded a thing called the Founders Fund, which again is an investment company. But going back in, I believe it was 2007, Gawker published a story which essentially outed him as gay.
Peter
Thiel was outed as gay.
So
in this Gawker story.
Okay. All right.
It was sort of, as the story is written, it's sort of like an open secret within Silicon Valley, but he certainly wasn't publicly out until this story came out.
Now, again, it's worth noting that, like, there is, including the Hulk Hogan thing included, a sizable chunk of quasi-ethical, unethical things that
Yes.
Gawker has posted and written about.
Right. So,
Regardless of how you feel about any of that, they are, in many circles, considered to be unethical.
Well, the crux of the case was that Gawker is like doing damaging, not newsworthy work to individuals that don't deserve it, essentially. And just, I would say it was probably a year ago, someone in New York City was outed. He was like a CFO of a company,
which was like a really heartbreaking,
a really very sad story. And Gawker actually, I believe, retracted it or published an apology or something like that. So there have certainly been stories.
Shattered past.
They also do good work, but like they have a reputation, especially Gawker Prime. And so this is all stuff to keep in the back of your mind when you learn that Peter Thiel, again, 10 years ago, he was outed. It turns out that he has secretly been funding Hulk Hogan's case against Gawker. I believe gave them $10 million
to fight them.
To pay for the legal fees in Gawker's case.
Now that's
scandalous, but not illegal, right? I mean,
Not
people pay for legal fees all the time.
You're completely right. So the ACLU, it exists to pay people's legal fees to fight for things that they believe in. Obviously, it's just an interesting story because this isn't an individual, it's not an organization. And it obviously brings up the idea of like, okay, so in this case, people could say, sure, he was wronged by Gawker by being outed, and this is his way of sort of getting back at them. But let's say it's a case, a case of super racist people, and a super racist guy comes out and supports their legal, you know what I mean?
But the
it sort of
inference
opens
to make
Yeah.
is that, and the takeaway, and the thing that people are all really kind of upset about,
Yeah.
is the fact that like this is a situation where someone of great wealth
Right.
can directly sort of manhandle a media company that they may or may not disagree with,
Right.
through these sort of like back channel means,
Sure.
right?
Or
Like,
an individual. I mean, you're right. So it's whether it's a company or an individual, and this is not news, but anyone with a lot of money has major has a major advantage in the legal system just because they can hire the best lawyers and they could string out cases for years and years and years. And this is such a crazy example of that because it is, as you said, could potentially destroy a media company. And this is one guy throwing his financial might behind it. And it's like $10 million out of $2.8 billion is like nothing
It's a drop
to
in
this
the bucket.
guy. Like he would, I'm sure, spend way more happily
on a weekend.
Because like, what else are you going to spend that money on?
I guess so, but like, so what does it all mean, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I get it. Like,
Karma's a bitch.
Yeah,
karma's,
well, yeah.
I guess so, but is it like, because you understand what we're saying, right? Like, does that give anyone the right to totally go after and essentially threaten the livelihood of a corporation because they don't agree with something? I mean, I understand. Like,
It's also not right for anybody to get outed before they're ready to come out themselves.
Yes.
yeah, but like, you have to also think about like, you know, free speech and free press and.
But
Like, that's
according to the law, speech is money. Like money. That's why the Citizens United thing and you know, all the campaign finance stuff is so hard to stop.
Right.
It's because the law says that you have the freedom to get your opinion out there or to give your money to other people to get your opinion out there. That's legally fine.
So what? How do you think this changes the game? Like,
I think all it does is highlight how potentially unfair things are. And again, I'm not saying that
in the system that's currently in place.
And I'm not saying that this is an issue where like I agree with Justin that he was wronged. Like he should not have been outed in the piece. And you know, but
I think most people would agree with like, oh, you shouldn't just ruin someone's life,
right,
regardless of what the information is. Like, I'm not saying someone coming out of the closet would ruin someone's life, but like, it's their choice.
No, if there's something in the public interest,
Right.
If you're running for president and you're campaigning against gay rights, and it turns out you're gay, that's in the public interest. People should know about it.
But like for unsolicited sort of like gotcha shit, that's just like the way they did to that Hearst CEO guy or whoever it was.
Exactly.
It was such a fucked up story. Like I couldn't believe what they did to this poor guy.
Yeah.
But then people don't talk about how celebrities get, you know, they'll get lies printed about them in magazines. I think it's just because in this case Peter Thiel hasn't deserved it in our eyes because he's not a celebrity.
And that's another sort of element to the whole equation, right? Where you know, the argument by the TMZs of the world is like, well, they're public figures.
Right.
They, you know, like they are a notable person.
And I also think those publications would say that if you're reading it on TMZ or the National Enquirer, then there's maybe some assumption that the reader thinks that, you know, maybe the story isn't 100% fact checked.
Right, where it's like not the most sourced and vetted
exactly.
thing.
Whereas does Gawker have that kind of reputation? I'm not sure. I feel like people read Gawker and just believe what.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. People kind of read TMZ like that.
Yeah, I know.
And you know what?
That
Like,
might be giving people too much credit.
I have this weird kind of relationship with TMZ. I don't read it. I only like maybe 3 times a year I wind up on a TMZ site.
Yeah.
But the vibe I get from them is that like, yeah, they actually do really do a lot of research and like kind of back stuff up and get source stuff. Like, I don't know, the stuff I've seen where it's like,
I mean, they're not doing Bat Boy stories.
They're not. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're obviously a tabloid, but they're not like a sensational. They are.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Where like they source stuff more than I thought they would.
I mean, I would say they source stuff as much as Us Weekly does, which is just like a friend of the star said.
Okay, fine. I'll backpedal a little bit. And I'll just say, like, man, they break a lot of shit.
Well, but
like,
this
they break a lot. They scoop a lot.
And I think
of
the
stuff.
reason that you find yourself on TMZ is, I would agree with you. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year, they have this crazy. There was a story about.
I mean, they broke Prince dying.
Right,
They broke Michael Jackson
Sure.
dying. I think they did. They break a lot.
So I
of
would
that
say
stuff.
I don't think they're exclusively known for that stuff, but you're right. They do have such a massive network of like investigative
Of spiders. My spiders are telling me things.
essentially, right, exactly.
Through the 30-mile zone.
So I agree with you. I don't know. We've gotten kind of off track with TMZ, but
We have.
it's an interesting story, and I think it's interesting. All it does is bring to light how much power someone could potentially have over a legal system.
And I think the other big thing too that's super important that people need to understand as what kind of fallout this causes is like, yeah, right, fine. So nothing maybe changes on the surface. But think about it, like now there's this quasi precedent that's been set where maybe a free press corporation's not as aggressively pursuing something that maybe they should be over fear of retaliation, where, you know, they would not be doing that great kind of journalism, going after somebody, or not maybe going after somebody, but going after a story that they would be fearful that some entity could come back and put them out of business.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like again, it's clear that Gawker did not do due diligence from a story perspective, specifically with Peter. Like I read the Peter Thiel outing story, and like it was not like a well researched or thoughtful piece.
I mean, but was it like that guy's gay?
No, the core of the story, ironically enough, was about how the VC world, which is not based in Silicon Valley, it's in Menlo Park, and it is very against, or at the time was against, was very homophobic.
Well, that's
sort
a
of like
story.
So that was the crux of the story, was that like it's ridiculous that all these guys, which are like, they described them as like a jockey, fratty kind of crew, because essentially they're investment bankers, were not really giving proper attention to, you know, gays and what have you. Were having a more difficult time getting stuff funded there. And he was presented as an example of like, hey, this guy who is, let's face it, gay, is starting his own investment firm, and so it's sort of a next generation. So it wasn't even like a screw this guy, he's gay story.
And it was like a side story.
I mean, but the headline of the story was like, let's face it, Peter Thiel's gay.
Oh.
So like,
all right. Well,
look, it's I would not be proud if I was attached to that story. And again, Gawker's done some good work too. It's just it's a very complicated and interesting. I find it super interesting, but I would also say like it is also on the it's the burden on the media to ensure that due diligence has happened, in the sense that like this needs to be in the public interest. This needs to have a purpose beyond ruining someone's life or whatever. And so if you're looking to go the easy route, SB Nation, I work for Vox Media. SB Nation a few months ago had a very similar issue where a post was put up and not well researched and really came out in a negative light. And the post was taken down, and SB Nation apologized, and the guy was fired. And, you know, I think it's important to hold media to those high standards, but also know that like someone could stomp in there and really muck up someone's story if they really want to.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Do you think Gawker will be a website after this whole lawsuit is over?
The rumor is they're looking to sell.
Yeah,
which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, obviously that would make sense. So if they sold, how does that play out? Do they stay afloat?
I mean, they could sell individual verticals potentially, and make enough money to sort of support themselves that way. The issue, I think, for a lot of people is that the brand is pretty tainted,
right?
But there's also a huge audience for that kind of content, and the reason they've developed such a huge audience is because their standards for what they would and would not publish were different than a lot of other media companies.
Yeah.
So
love it or hate it, it's popular.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good talk.
Yeah,
that was educational and insightful, and a peek into the shadowy world of online journalism.
Yeah,
and Hulk Hogan's underpants is what that was,
and sushi meal
and sushi.
How did they find out that Peter Thiel was behind it?
That's a good question.
So there was a rumor initially. There was like rumors that there was some secret funding, because you know the lawyers that Hulk Hogan is bringing in. You know how much they cost. You know how much he's worth. He probably couldn't afford it himself, so there has to be some sort of funding. Nick Denton actually said before it officially came out. Nick Denton said like, you know, I'm very suspicious. He owns Gawker. I'm very suspicious that there's someone behind the scenes pulling the strings. I don't know for sure at that time he knew who it was.
He didn't come out and say like that. This guy's getting help.
Right. Well, he did
say that?
Yeah, he said this guy's getting help. He didn't say, oh, it's Peter Thiel.
Right.
Whether he knew or not is up in the air.
Oh, obviously he's like, how many people?
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's quite a long list.
Very long list.
But they knew, and then so the story was bouncing around, and then Thiel just came out and admitted it. He was like, "Yep, it's me."
Yeah.
That takes a lot of balls to just come out and be like, "Yeah, it was me."
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. It does, but you know, if you have $2.8 billion, I don't think he's worried about balls or not.
You know what? Like, why do we put billionaires in this category
Of what?
of like God.
Oh no, it's not that. It's that he at a certain point you stop looking. You start looking at the world, I think, in a very different light.
I understand,
and
but
not
like,
in like a more human light.
I think it's been painfully obvious, especially as of late, that like we idolize people with so much money.
I wouldn't. I mean, idolize sometimes in a negative and a positive light.
I guess so. Like there's
Like
evil
Martin
billionaires.
Shkreli, obviously not well received.
Sure. But like, you know, just look at the people who have like so much money, they essentially transcend reality.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just like, not all of them are smart. Not all of them are good.
Sure.
You look at like some investors who've made billions, it's like, all right, you know, maybe you just got right place, right timed, and that's that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think like we really just worship that kind of mentality more than maybe we should.
Yeah.
We don't even ask questions. We're just like, oh, that guy's worth $8 billion, so he knows what's up. And
Well,
like, yeah,
and
like
then-
there's
but-
the Elon Musks of the world where it's like, no, he's important. We need him.
Right.
And then there's some other jackasses around who are like, no, F that guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no, that guy's bad.
But and then you look at like Warren Buffett, who like lives in a small house in the middle of the Midwest and is worth billions upon billions of dollars, and clearly is a very smart investor, very successful. But like generally, the way he comports himself is like a very professional, like pretty thoughtful guy. So it kind of I wouldn't paint it with a broad brush. I think the billionaires I'm sure there are a lot of billionaires that like you don't hear about because they're not colossal assholes or
they're
whatever.
not like pulling the strings.
But, you know, and then there's Bill Gates does nice stuff with his money.
Oh, I'm not trying to paint with these broad strokes like you said, but there are, you know, it's I think everyone just needs to like vet it a little more, think about it a little more.
We'll be better when we make our first billion.
Well, obviously. What do you mean when? Did you not get your check?
This weekend.
Okay. Let's talk about this Tesla thing you're bringing up.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I wrote this story when it first broke earlier this week, but we didn't actually publish it on CNET because we weren't sure whether or not this video that surfaced was actually real.
Okay.
And so I wanted to show you guys to see what you think because
Okay.
it's kind of an interesting story regardless.
So you wrote the whole story.
So I wrote the whole story, and then some other editors that work in our car vertical looked at it and was like, I don't know, this could be fake.
Okay.
Because there's a tech angle behind it. So earlier, I think it was on Tuesday, there was a GIF that was posted to Reddit of a driver behind the wheel of a Tesla Model S. And
which version is that?
That is the more expensive one.
Okay.
Yeah. Driving behind the wheel of a Tesla Model S, sleeping, letting the autopilot feature do the driving for him.
Yeah.
Down the freeway, kind of like in not stop and go, well, not completely stop traffic, but pretty slow.
Okay.
So it's not like he's zooming down the freeway at 60 miles an hour.
It's stop and go traffic.
It's pretty slow, yeah. And this guy's just in the front seat, mouth open, totally sleeping.
So
how do you prove whether this is fake or not?
Well, okay, so the way
Without
that
sticking
Teslas
it to
work is that there's this dashboard, that giant dashboard that's in front of you all the time while you're driving, right? And Elon Musk actually 2 years ago said himself that nobody should be falling asleep behind the wheel of a Tesla because it's not fully autonomous yet. A lot of times it'll take into consideration, you know, certain cars around you, but it won't read signs.
Sure.
So if you need to make an exit or something like that, you got to be aware. And they recommend you always actually keep one hand on the wheel.
Yeah.
Now, if a lot of times they'll also need your approval to do things like change lanes or things like that.
Okay.
So there's human interaction with the dashboard. And if it prompts you for a question and you don't answer it, then it'll start beeping.
Okay.
And that's to
wake
assume,
you up.
you're asleep and it needs to wake you up. Now, people are claiming this video is fake because the sound emitted is loud enough to where somebody would wake up. So unless this guy was straight up passed out or something like that, or dead, he could be doing like a Bernie. But most people just think that it might be fake. And definitely not on behalf of Tesla, because although it might seem like it would be the greatest marketing stunt of all time, I don't think they'd ever actually put their commercials behind this.
Yeah,
I was
that wouldn't
listening to a podcast the other day. These two guys are talking about the autonomous autopilot feature of Tesla, and I forget the context. But one guy was like, he's like, "Man, have you ever taken your hands off the wheel in a Tesla?"
Yeah.
To say like the fact that like you need to try it. You know what I mean? Where it's like you haven't
Like it was
lived.
that cool?
Like you haven't lived. You
Yeah.
haven't seen the future
Until
unless
take
you
your
do
hands
this.
off. Sure.
And apparently, and he was going on about like, yeah, that thing could basically drive
Yeah.
itself.
Get in the back seat.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
it looks
I don't know
in
about
this
that.
traffic that he's in. It looks like he's not changing lanes.
This looks like very
Right.
It looks like manageable
Simple.
traffic.
Simple
for
calculation.
right.
Sure. Yeah. But there's been a lot of stories recently about Tesla's actually crashing. So it's a real possibility that this guy is putting other people in the freeway in danger.
Sure.
Maybe not at a high speed rate, but it's possible for him to get into a fender bender. Actually, later on in the week, there was an actual real story that was published. I wanted to show you guys this GIF of. So this shows sort of a dash cam of a Tesla crashing into the back of a car because on the freeway, this car is stopped in an emergency in front of him. Now, the Tesla was actually tracking this other station wagon that you see pass around the front of the car that's
so
parked
it
in front of
didn't
him.
see it.
And so it didn't see that van in front of the car that it was tracking. That's one problem with autonomous vehicles where you actually need human foresight to look
be like,
ahead of what the car is tracking.
That's
I mean,
weird that it did not recognize
I
that.
agree with
Right?
Russ.
You say it should.
Like that to me is like, no, that's something that is not totally uncommon. Like,
Right.
people are idiots and cars die all the time
Right.
and they stop in the middle of everywhere and you just got to be, your head on a swivel. I'm surprised the Tesla.
We're not really there yet. I think everyone kind of jumped to this idea because
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh my God, we've been waiting for so long. We can, pull our Jetsons and just shave in the car. But that's really not what's happening yet.
I'm with you. We're not there yet, but at the same time, autonomous cars have tens of millions of miles already driven.
For sure.
And the death rate is 0. Right? The Google car has had 2
Yeah.
accidents. One was human intervention.
human intervention.
One was a 2-mile-an-hour fender bender.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I trust robots way more than humans.
Yeah.
100%.
I read that for
we're
a
the
lot of
worst.
autonomous cars, the problem is since other drivers, human drivers,
Yeah.
know that those cars will be sort of giving leeway to
Right.
humans, they'll actually take advantage of them knowing they'll always get the right of way.
That's so funny.
because
It's
they're
like
just
you're
weak.
defensive.
Yeah. Robots.
It's so funny, but
Lame.
like, and that's another thing. Like, I don't think there's going to be like this transitional time where like half the cars on the road are autonomous and half are human. Like, how could that be a thing?
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah?
Sure. I mean, aren't we like halfway there now?
I don't know. I think a lot of cars now. Like, my dad just got a new Caddy, and it's like, it's a lot of these cars are like all about accident prevention.
Sure.
Not autonomous driving, but accident prevention, where it's like, the seat will vibrate if you
Yeah,
sort of
sure.
veer out of lane.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You're right. We're not there yet in the sense that like this will all get held up by like legislation, right? Like the technology is here where the cars are really smart and they do a lot of amazing autonomous stuff. But like you're going to need to have a world where the entire Department of Transportation and the infrastructure built within that needs to be updated to support robots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
and that's a place where we're not at yet. And that's something that's going to take forever, right? Forever.
I
that's
mean,
gonna take.
I think the idea of like people being on highways and it being relatively autonomous is not that far off from like cruise control.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Highways are. Yeah, I'm not. Fine. I'll
Sure.
give you highways.
So what you're saying is,
But, like, that's
but like
a
for
fraction.
fully autonomous, like you would never have to touch anything in your
like, I
car.
don't think we're near that.
I mean, I think there'll be a
aren't-
time in the future where maybe we'll have a lane on the freeway that's only for autonomous cars.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It won't be like a street driving.
But aren't
type thing.
like the Google cars do that? So like they do that right now, correct?
What?
Google cars can essentially drive themselves.
I believe so.
Go like
but again,
A to
like they're only
B.
being tested in certain cities. I mean, there's not a lot of transparency. Like you read the headlines where it's
Sure.
like this Google car saved a kitten, and
Yeah.
you're like, what? There's not enough of a report out
Yeah.
anywhere. Like you get these data points and you get these other things, but like
Right.
no
Sure.
one's really understanding.
But you know that the idea of like it's definitely going to happen where there's going to be humans in autonomous cars.
Yeah.
Because let's say like eventually you agree that there's going to be a moment where there are autonomous cars. They're not going to take it's like taking guns away from people in America. They're not going to take like your dad's Chevy away from him.
He's a caddy. But
Whatever, same diff.
No, that's a big difference.
Like you're not allowed to drive a car anymore.
Right,
We have
right,
to have
right.
robots.
Do you
That's
think
ridiculous.
Do you think there'll be like this grandfather thing where like
Yes.
you want to keep driving that analog death machine?
And
Go
there's,
for it.
And there's a tax or whatever on
No, but like
having full control over your car.
imagine you got to pay more. You want a driver's license? That's $1,000 a year.
Fine with me.
Save it for the
You
video
keep
game.
it?
I'm fine with that. Totally.
You want to keep driving?
Oh no! I'm fine with charging people. If it gets to the point where autonomous driving prevents 99.9% of accidents,
It'll happen.
So it'll happen. So anyone that doesn't want to do that should be charged some sort of government
Right.
tax.
Yeah, I guess.
And if you get into an accident, then you're 100% liable.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah. Well, that's robo insurance. There's going to be robo
That's gonna
insurance
happen.
in the future.
Did you guys, speaking of Google cars, did you guys read that story about, I think it was in Philadelphia, there was a Google Maps car with the stickers on the side, like
Sure.
placards posted on the side, that actually was exposed as an undercover cop. Undercover
funny.
police officers are using Google Mapped marked cars
That's funny.
as
smart.
undercovers.
Smart.
No,
I mean, you
it's
see that
not.
in the
That's
city
not
all the
smart.
time
How is that
using.
smart?
Well, because you don't pay the attention you pay to the Google Maps car is not
No.
like
That's
Well, it depends on what
ridiculous.
neighborhood you're in.
Let's say you're dealing drugs and you see a Google Maps car. Are you
Yeah.
going to like chill on the corner selling drugs, or are you going to maybe wait for the
no,
car?
I'd wave. I'd wave and be
Well,
like,
that's
I
the
can't
thing.
wait to see myself.
It
on
didn't
Google
have
Maps.
that camera turret on top of
Oh,
the car.
didn't?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
just
just a
that.
sticker, which kind of would seem
It's just
more
like a
conspicuous.
shitty magnet sticker.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
do like a taxi cab?
That's what I mean. If they didn't have
come
the
on.
actual
That's-
vehicle
that's
for it,
That's terrible.
not really
It's like they
trying that
printed
hard.
out a piece of eight and a half by
Yeah.
11.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to backpedal a little bit because Justin just showed me like a
It's literally
freaking
like a sticker. Yeah.
It's not like the vinyl wrap that those.
No, not
yeah.
even that good.
Yeah.
And Google came out and was like, "This is not okay.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to
Yeah,
do
don't
this.
do
We're
that."
not in partnership with you guys."
Yeah, it's actually a copyright
terrible.
infringement.
Yeah. Although one time when I was in the city, so everyone knows, well, maybe not everyone, but if you come to New York, a lot of times the yellow cabs that you see will actually be cop cars
Yes.
undercover. And sometimes you'll just see a yellow cab and all of a sudden the lights will go off
Yeah.
inside the car where the siren is.
It's not the cash cab.
Nope.
It's the police car.
No, you're under arrest. But they also, one time when I was walking with my friend, I saw an Uber car with the placard inside. You know how they have it on the dashboard right underneath the windshield? I saw an Uber car also have those flashing lights internally.
Really?
So they're definitely using that too. And
That
I
makes
Googled
sense.
it. No stories have covered the Uber undercovers. So watch out for
Why
that
don't you
too.
break that? Why don't you break that?
Maybe I should. I didn't get a video of it or a photo or anything.
Just don't
but
really
it's
understand,
anecdotal.
like, how is that better than just being a normal car? Like, why do you need the Google icon? What is that going to indicate?
I think because it's okay for a car like that to just be
Yeah.
idle on the street. You know,
Yeah.
if you saw an Uber car parked somewhere, you'd be like, okay, that's
yeah, that
fine.
makes
That guy
sense.
can chill for
Okay.
a while. He's waiting for a pickup.
Sure.
Yeah, that's funny.
But it depends on what neighborhood you're in. If you're in a Google car in a bad neighborhood, maybe people will be like, this guy is a little out of place here.
Street views never rolled through this hood. Oh, what's going on? That's pretty good. So I got into a conversation with Vinny from Giant Bomb. I don't know how this happened, and it's definitely making a full left turn here. But like,
You have some weird conversations with people in the office, by the way.
oh,
I walked
totally.
into the kitchen the other day and we had like a 20-minute conversation that I had jumped into. You guys
Yeah.
were already talking about this.
Yeah, about farts.
About farts.
Yeah.
In the office.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Everybody farts.
that's the thing.
You were talking about like who was farting.
Well, everyone can relate, and like we were like
In the kitchen?
Yeah, it was fart theory. It was fart theory.
Okay, trying to identify farts based on smell.
No, nothing like that. It was more like the science a little bit.
Okay.
And like understanding
Technique.
digestive system,
Right,
like
sure.
what, you know, it
Right.
wasn't like a kindergarten conversation.
Okay.
There were moments. There were moments.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right. So what conversation were you having this time?
And this is something that I think about a lot, and we've never vocalized it.
Uh-huh.
It's the whole like kiss on the cheek, hug, or a handshake thing. Okay.
Okay.
So, so Vinny from Giant Bomb was like asking me, he's like, so when do you go in for the kiss on the cheek? Because we've been having a thing on that show where like we send out a kiss on the cheek through the airwaves of the podcast.
That's very
Just
nice.
Be like, hey, kiss on the cheek. Like,
Okay.
love
Nice,
you. You know,
yeah.
like it's nice. But in reality, like, where do you draw the line? When does that happen? So then we were like creating scenarios with each other where it's like, okay, you are at a bar,
Yeah.
and a friend of yours brings their significant other, and
How
Yeah.
long have you known them?
that's the thing. Like, how long have you known the friend?
Right.
what kind of night did you have at the bar with the significant other? Was it like
What?
drinking? Was it
Okay.
like nice? Because
Yeah.
all that plays into the calculation.
No
of it.
variables involved. Setting that stuff up, I would say, and it's the first time I'm meeting the significant other,
Never kiss on the
and
first.
and it's a female.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say just for easy. So the first time I meet them, handshake at the beginning of the night.
Right. Hey, hi.
Hey,
I'm
nice
Jeff.
to meet you.
I'm Russ. How are you?
Done.
Yeah.
End of the night. Assuming things went normally, not even like gangbusters great or not.
Hug.
Hug.
Okay. So I think
Kiss on the cheek is like a real road. Like that's down the road on
I
a
think
relationship.
kiss on
Yeah.
the cheek. I've done kisses on the cheek on the first meeting.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Look
Yeah.
at you.
But
Were you
they're,
in Miami?
but they're contextual.
Yeah.
The kiss on the cheek only shows up if it was like such a fabulous first impression, where like the night was great and we were laughing and everyone's
don't
getting
know.
along.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's a little. I would if I. Yeah, I don't know, man.
And that's one. We're talking about one kiss on the cheek, not like a double
No,
French
a
kiss.
double would almost be
You're-
best because it's like a double is like an accepted greeting.
Yeah,
in
that's
certain
like if you're
countries.
kissing a Greek person.
I'm,
French.
I'm, I'm going to
French.
tell
French,
you. I'm
yeah.
going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think it's contextual. I think like
I don't do that.
You can escalate to that level, and I've had it reciprocated. Not like where it's like, oh, wasn't expecting the kiss on the cheek, but like where someone reciprocates and it's like a mutual kiss on the cheek, and it's like a mwah.
Well, okay, so do you actually put lips to cheek,
Right, or you
or
just
are
doing
you
the air
cheek
kiss?
kissing?
Great point.
And
Jason.
if you're cheek kissing, do you make the mwah?
Right.
Right.
Great point. There are many subtle levels.
Yeah,
of
are.
the
And
kiss
what
on
do
the
those
cheek.
mean?
Because sometimes it's just like, hey, let's touch ears.
Yes.
I like
right?
that.
Where
I
like
like that.
ear touching is
Right.
a greeting, but sometimes it's also like, let's touch cheeks, but not kiss. And then sometimes it's like, oh, I want to lay a fat one on your cheek because you're like my
That's got to be a
you're
really,
like an old
really
friend.
good.
You're
Yeah.
like a real old friend, and I haven't seen in a while,
Sure.
and I love you. That kind of thing. Do you? So let me ask you another thing. Do you any of your friends, your male friends, kiss you on the cheek?
No.
No.
See, I have that a lot.
I've met your friends. I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
that doesn't surprise me either.
And not only that,
Nothing's wrong with that, though.
no, not at all.
Nothing wrong
I
at all.
actually, I find it endearing.
That's
Sure.
cool. Yeah, I like
It's kind of like a Goodfellas thing. They do that in Goodfellas, don't they?
I'm not gonna like directly equate it to like a mob thing,
Yeah.
but
There are a few A's when you do it, though. Yeah,
hey.
hey, and then a little mwah.
So
I'm
it's
sure
like-
the reason you're not, I don't think you're blood brothers with these people.
No, I think a lot of it too is like, so like all my friends' dads.
Yeah.
Like if I see my friend's dad and I haven't seen him in a while, he gives you a kiss on the cheek.
What?
Yeah.
That's
It's
not
weird.
what I don't want to say weird because culture and all that stuff, but like that is not an experience I am familiar with.
Yeah.
I have
that-
friends
might freak me
under
out.
the right circumstances,
Yeah.
like a wedding
Okay.
where
It's
friends
going to escalate.
my age,
It's going to escalate.
where it's like my friends.
Tongue kiss.
No, not on the lips, but a real cheek kiss.
Real cheek
Okay.
kiss.
Yeah, on the cheek.
You guys look like the two worst dudes to kiss on the cheek. You guys have all that scruff on there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun.
No,
be
it's
horrible.
actually
It's
soft and
exfoliating
nice.
you.
It's nice.
Yeah, mine's not bad.
Yeah, yours looks a little coarse.
We could start it up. Is that what this whole conversation is about? You just wanting us to kiss you on the cheek? When we
No,
see you?
not
I
at
can
all.
do that.
And I'm not trying to like bring the kisses on the cheek back.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that.
Do you think it's a generational thing?
I don't know what it is. I just find it fascinating because, like Vinny was saying, he's like, ah, who do you kiss on the cheek?
Yeah.
Because like kissing on the cheek, like I said, has become kind of a joke on that show. And I was like, yeah, there are a very specific set of rules that I internally have for that they are on autopilot. They get activated by themselves. I don't go into a hug with someone
Sure.
and say, I'm going to kiss this person.
Okay, here's my question. It's kind of a dumb question, but
Never
right
a
or
dumb
left? Do you go to your left
It's-
or to the right?
The person I'm hugging, they are on my right. Like their head will be embraced on my
Sure.
right shoulder.
Okay, so follow-up question. Disaster scenario, you're both thinking the same thing.
No, yeah.
Never happens?
If you're both thinking right shoulder, you'll go in just fine.
No, okay, but let's say
Does-
you're both
yeah, does
thinking
everyone have
cheek
that?
kiss at the same time.
Right.
Then you go
So
to
you
the
both
same
turn
side.
the same facing each other.
Okay. I have
Has
a
that
couple.
happened?
A couple. Yeah, sure. It happens every now and then.
Okay.
Whoop, whoop,
Usually
whoop,
it's
gotta do
like
that thing.
quickly corrected,
Okay.
where it's like up, round,
Sure.
square, no problem, right?
Sure,
Like
yeah.
that's an easy, bop, bop, you're good.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets awkward and you just have to make out. You just have
Right.
to like actual tongue
Just
kiss.
go in
Sure.
for it. Yeah.
Just live
You
it
know,
up.
like, look, we're this far, tongue kiss. Yeah.
I find that my girlfriend really, really enjoys watching me either see someone for the first time that I haven't seen in a while, or meet somebody that I've never met before. Because for some reason, she gets a kick out of dudes deciding whether or not to handshake, high five, or like cool guy handshake.
Cool guy
Yeah.
handshake.
Or
with the
cool guy,
back.
or like cool guy hug.
Yeah.
Which is like the arm in between.
I'm
the
hugging you,
dudes.
but I'm hitting you.
Yeah, yeah.
I got another one for you that happened to me not this morning. Okay.
You had an
Okay.
awkward handshake?
So here's the situation. So I've been going to a dermatologist a lot lately.
Yep.
Okay.
As you may know. And I had a little follow up today. And woman's very nice woman.
This is the dermatologist.
Yeah, very
Okay.
nice woman.
Fine.
And we know each other by now. I've seen her like almost 8 to 10 times
Sure.
in the last couple months.
Uh-huh.
And we ended the meeting today, and she kind of like put her hand up for a high five.
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, Jeff, it was great seeing you." I'm like, "You too. You're cool." Like we
Had
talking
you
about
hugged before?
no, never like any kind of human contact
Okay.
besides the
Handshake.
The handshake.
Yeah.
So she like put her hand up for like, "Hey, it's Friday, slap it," that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I was just like, I was like, "Oh, okay." So I slapped it.
Sure.
But then I still like shook her hand right after
Yeah.
because it was like, yeah, were we doing the high five because it's like Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, all right, let's get out of here. Oh, okay, professional. It was weird.
You ever shake somebody's hand when they weren't offering it? That's happened to me before with somebody in the office. I'll tell you who it is after the show's over.
Wait,
How does that even
This
play?
person came up to me one time when I was sitting at the desk I was at before.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted printer advice. And he came up to me and was like, "Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?" And like just went like kind of just made a gesture with
Yeah.
his hand
Okay.
like this.
And-
But to me, it looked like he was offering his hand.
Sure.
So I just grabbed it. I just grabbed it with like and kind of shook it. I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then you could tell I knew immediately that it wasn't the intention.
like, "It's not what I wanted."
Because he was like, "Oh, thank you." He was like, oh, thank you very much. And we kind of just like shook for a second. But I was like, no, this is way too formal for what you're trying to ask me. And I was embarrassed. And from then on, whenever I watch like a late night talk show
Yeah.
or an interview on TV, I'm always like, that's not a handshake.
Right.
I gotta watch out for that now because that's my first instinct to just
it's
not leave somebody hanging.
You don't want to get caught up in it.
We've all been there before.
Yeah, it's
I would
very
hate to
awkward.
put someone in that position, so I got to watch out to do it prematurely.
And then like the handshake that goes on for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
no.
we should have let go by now.
You got
Yeah.
3 seconds.
Happened to me yesterday.
Ugh.
Happened to me yesterday.
What is wrong with those people?
With a guy in here, and he was like, "I'm like, we're going up and down and up and down and up and down." I'm like, "We're
and
done."
like the conversation starts
we're
just
done.
continuing on. Yeah.
like,
no.
are we going out together now? Like, are you taking me with
That's
you?
when you have to throw their hand down
Like,
at the bottom of the
yeah,
handshake.
Now that I think about it, we're talking about cheek kissing. When I was dating, and this is again many years ago, probably 6-7 years ago, when I was dating, at the end of a particularly good date of someone that I could see myself dating for a longer period of time, I do this move, which is, we're getting to the point where we're gonna say goodbye, whatever. I'd do this. I'd point to my cheek. In
Lay one on me.
Give me some
lay
sugar.
one on me,
Yeah.
and it was always well received.
You're like,
That's
oh, I
good.
get to kiss
Because
Russ.
it's like
I like
it gets rid of the pressure of like, oh, we're gonna maybe kiss now, and
This is
that's
a
too
commitment,
fast for
yeah.
some people, and they don't
Yeah.
want to kiss on the first date. And so this is like, it's kind of an alpha move on my part.
yeah,
what can I
that's a good
say?
move. That's a good move.
And on their part, it kind of gives them all of the power, even though it's an alpha move on my part.
Do you say anything? Do you vocalize the? Hey, give me a. You do like the little mumble.
You do the like eye close, like look away.
Yeah, it's never a complete sentence. Like, hey, kiss me on the cheek right now. It's always just like, hey, where'd you? Yeah.
I don't miss those days.
No, that's good. That's a great
But
tip
it
for our
worked.
single friends.
Yeah,
out
if you're
there.
single out there, give it a shot. It shows that you're very polite.
Oh, it works for women too.
I think
I would love that.
Yep.
I
Girl
think-
was like, hey.
I think for a lot of it, it's like you can't really go wrong with the hug, with the friendly hug.
Yeah, it's
especially of when it's the situation allows it. I think most situations allow the buddy hug. Where
I would say unless it's the very first time you're meeting someone, and in which case a hug is weird.
even again meeting that person
Unless
for the
it's
first
like
time.
unless it's like your best friend's wife that you've
Right.
never met. Fine. fine.
Oh, I'm kissing that person.
Remind me never to bring Peony around you again.
I don't know if I haven't
Fantasizing about kissing my girlfriend.
I've given her a hug. I'm not sure I've given her the kiss on the
keep
cheek.
those lips to yourself.
But I know where we're going next time. I'm just saying, it's a thing. It's a thing to think about.
Creepy that you're planning this all out too.
Well, obviously, I'm not doing it. Perhaps maybe making mental notes.
Kiss or the hug today.
But like, it occurred to me, like, oh no, not only do I have like a very specific set of rules for that, but it's like, yeah, I can tell you, maybe I kiss more than I should.
Do you guys have any friends that are uncomfortable with physical contact, even with friends? I have one friend who I always forget that she's like this, but I could tell she kind of like tenses up every time I meet her because she's expecting it. So I always like kind of come in and I'm like, oh wait, sorry. It's very awkward. Yeah. You guys don't know people like that?
No, I've seen it. I don't know them. I don't know a lot of people like that person.
For them, high five.
Right. Yeah.
I think
or like elbow bump.
Gloved.
I have a male friend who refuses to eat bananas in public because he just pictures himself.
Oh, well, that's kind of
Get over
weird.
that.
That's get over it.
You
Bananas
just
are
eat
great.
them from the side?
like corn.
Yeah, that's so weird.
So when Stace and I were going out early on, we were friends with this other couple, and the girl in the couple would always give me the kiss on the cheek to say goodbye, which is fine. It was reciprocated, and Stacy would kiss the guy too. But like, she would kiss too close to the mouth.
Where? How close? We talking, like
to the
crease.
point where like it was always
a corner.
It was basically always like a third of a.
You know what that reads as is like she was testing a swap situation.
I don't know if we're gonna go that far. I never read into it. I mean, even as the juvenile.
There's so much cheek area. There's no reason you would ever get that close unless you intentionally were going that close.
I mean, maybe she just wanted to get close. Maybe that was it. Stacey always like kind of brushed it off, but deep down, I think it bothered her. You know?
Did she start getting closer to his mouth?
Yeah. This is why you don't do that.
I don't know. Of course,
Start reading
come on.
stuff.
The thing I always
have too many Italian.
And here's another thing. I do have a lot of time.
That might be it.
And here's the other thing. Okay, you can never go wrong with turning a hug into the kiss. Like, don't be scared to go for that hug. But then that hug could sometimes turn into a kiss. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying you're not going to go into the hug
Sure.
and then come out with a kiss, but maybe that hug whilst embracing will come into like an ear touch. It could be like an ear touch.
You know why it's risky? Because it's a tacit agreement between the two people. So what if you go in for a kiss and the other person doesn't kiss you on the cheek? Then you've just kissed a person on the cheek.
That's happened to me. It's
really?
not the worst.
That's kind of weird.
The worst.
No?
Nope.
Then maybe next time you'll get it back?
Yeah.
You owe me?
For me, it's like, nah, I'm just going to hug this person.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, there are dozens of people who know me who are like, oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this
enough
guy
already with
always
the
trying to
kissing
kiss me
out
on the
with this guy.
cheek.
Yeah.
Guy, girl, doesn't matter.
Keeps getting closer to my mouth.
Too intimate.
All right. I want to know what you think. 866-404-CNET. This is something everyone definitely has an opinion on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So leave us a voicemail, and the people you see on Memorial Day, think about it.
Right.
Now, don't think about it going into it, because then it'll fuck you all up, and then you might wind up kissing someone on the mouth. You don't want to do that.
No, because there's diseases involved.
Well, no.
You can't get a disease from a kiss on the cheek, right?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wasn't thinking about going down that angle.
I feel like the only scientific way to do this is to exclusively kiss everyone that you meet on the cheek and or exclusively don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
I think you can also let the person lead you a little bit. Just like in dancing, you can like say like, oh, maybe we'll see how this person wants to dance. You can get in, because I think the hug is by default.
You go in, you're hugging
maybe,
at this point.
Then maybe it's either way. What's the worst that can happen? They kiss you, and that's it.
Do you do one of these like, and then kiss?
That would prompt the kiss well. Or you know it's something. Hey!
Like, oh, we're going to hug now? I just met you, but why not?
I like that. Yeah, I like people that do that, too. The preamble to the hug.
Totally.
Like, come here.
Because, like, if there's...
I like that.
There's drinks involved, people get a little looser.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Got a point first?
Hey, give those close friends. Let me just tell everyone something. Give those close friends that peck on the cheek. They'll appreciate it. If they're a close friend, they'll appreciate it.
Especially if it's at a key party.
A key party?
Yeah.
What's that?
Jesus.
Wait, what?
You don't know what that is?
No.
You never heard of a key party where everyone like puts their keys in a bowl?
Oh.
No one's ever been to that. That's just like the rumor.
Oh, they've happened.
Yeah, in the 70s.
Yeah, see, that's why we
probably
need
still
these
have
Teslas, man.
That's why we need them. Bringing it all back. That's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you had fun today. Always fun with Justin Yu. Follow him on Twitter at Malice Brutus, and read all the stuff on the CNET.
Yeah,
Because I know you like doing that.
that's right.
Rock and roll. All right, we're back next week, and that will be... Oh, no, we'll have 2 more shows before E3, so all is not lost just yet.
Indeed.
Are we pimping anything this week, Russ?
I just reviewed Overwatch. If
Oh, you did?
That's
What'd you
something
give
of
it?
interest. I believe it was an 8
Nice.
out of 10.
I agree with that number.
Okay.
Good job. You did
Go
it
ahead.
right.
There's also a bunch of words that support it.
Come on. People only care about that score.
Yeah, so you can check that out on Polygon. I've been doing a lot of live streaming on Polygon's Facebook page if you want to check that out. Just streamed a terrible TMNT game. And yeah, that's the top one.
All right, cool. We're going to be doing a lot of Facebook Live stuff. If you haven't already noticed on CNET, I'm going to be dipping my toes into that next week, so there's something to look forward to there. If you forgot what I look like. Anything else, Justin?
I think that's going to do it. Thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
Our pleasure, as always. 866-404-CNET. Shoot us an email, the404@cnet.com. Thank you to Nick from LA who sent us the spectating video game voicemail. Didn't have time for that today, but thank you for sending that, sir. Always appreciate the interaction. Check out the subreddit as well, reddit.com/r/404. We're back next week. Until then, I'm Jeff Bacala.
I'm Ross Frushtick.
And I'm Justin Yu.
This has been the 404 Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.